Microsoft buys Nintendo. Let's think about that for a minute. Let that sink in for a little bit and just imagine Microsoft buying Nintendo. What would that look like? What would it look like Microsoft purchasing right now the I think the oldest gaming company in the world right now, Nintendo? Cuz I see a lot of other really retro companies around still, but they're not making consoles like Nintendo is, going strong from the very beginning. With so many amazing IPs. So again, let me just say that again. Microsoft buys Nintendo. What would that look like? And what would be the future of Nintendo if this were true? Let's talk about it. Hey, if this is your first time here at Nintendo Academy, I am Mike Perez, and here we talk about games, news, unboxings, and more. So why not consider subscribing and joining the best Nintendo community on YouTube? So go ahead, click subscribe, and join that notification squad so you don't miss another Nintendo Academy video. All right, so let's talk about this. Right now, I want to paint a picture in your head. Microsoft just bought Nintendo. It happened. It really just happened, okay? Just think about this for a minute. Microsoft purchasing Nintendo, the company that a lot of us grew up with. That means purchasing Super Mario. That means purchasing Pokemon. That means purchasing, well, half of Pokemon because the Pokemon company owns the other half. Nintendo is a co-owner. But that means purchasing The Legend of Zelda. That means purchasing Splatoon. That means purchasing Bayonetta. That means purchasing so many games that Nintendo owns, IPs like Donkey Kong and more, right? And it's just mind-boggling that something like this could happen, right? Like, for example, right now there are three major gaming companies: Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, and all of a sudden there are two. Now, what would Microsoft do with Nintendo after purchasing it? I know a lot of you out there are thinking, no, Nintendo will probably go into Game Pass. They'll take all Mario games, they'll take all these crazy Zelda games, and they'll take all the IPs from Nintendo, and they'll just throw them into Game Pass. Nintendo is no more, and yeah, they'll just take all these games, put them on Game Pass. Microsoft is reigns supreme, Xbox is king. And that's that, right? Nintendo is done. Well, what if I told you that if Microsoft buys Nintendo, the last thing Microsoft will do is get rid of Nintendo? Nintendo's been around since the 80s, 1981, I think, 1982, 83. I mean, since the 70s if you count the playing cards. And to Microsoft, if they were to ever buy Nintendo, I believe that word Nintendo would actually be the most important part of their purchase. Nintendo, not so much the IPs. Yeah, the IPs are even more valuable, but Nintendo, they would actually buy Nintendo and leave Nintendo be Nintendo. Now, would they change anything? Yeah, they would. They would change a lot in the world of Nintendo, but they will never ever merge Nintendo with Xbox or even add any IPs from Nintendo into Game Pass. And let me tell you why. Nintendo is more valuable to Microsoft as a separate entity, owned by them, but as a separate entity, than together with Xbox, because Nintendo has so many people, so many customers, so many loyal customers that have been Nintendians. Let me know in the comments what we're called. I'll call myself a Nintendonian since the very beginning, and we're so faithful to Nintendo, and the thought of a competitor company coming over and swooping us up and just completely getting rid of us is absurd, right? What would we do? We'll jump ship, go to PlayStation, because nothing is more demeaning than another company coming over and just taking us over and getting rid of our name. Yeah, right? People love Nintendo and they just look at the other company because of a competition and say, no, I'll stick to Nintendo. That's why my even though my Switch is not 4K, even though Nintendo just released OLED and no 4K or nothing, no upgrades, and we still have the Switch for 5 years now, and it's still going strong. And Nintendo Switch is the #1 selling console of all time. I'll stick to my Nintendo. This is the reason why Microsoft will actually keep Nintendo as Nintendo. They will probably not even announce that they purchased Nintendo. They will not announce that because I believe it'll hurt them more than it'll help them. They would swoop underneath and just do changes to the company and just leave it as Nintendo, so that we Nintendonians would be more accepted. We would accept more of the changes that Microsoft would do behind the scenes. What if Microsoft already bought Nintendo? We didn't even. That's what Microsoft would do. They would probably never announce it. They will not get rid of the Nintendo name. They will keep Nintendo, and just do some changes. Now, what changes would they do? It's easy. They would just take whatever formula is working for them in Microsoft and apply it to Nintendo. What does that mean? Nintendo Online. They would start there. Cloud gaming throughout the entire way. And what would they do? They will take every single Nintendo IP and release it on their streaming service, on a Nintendo Netflix type, just like Game Pass. They'll probably call it Nintendo Pass or something like that, and just give us all of the games possible. This is how they win. This is how they make their money, by keeping us month after month, pay $9 a month to have access to a huge library of Nintendo Pass games. I would really love to see that. I would love to see having the NES, SNES, Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U, right? All these consoles together on Nintendo Online, Nintendo Game Pass, or call it whatever they call it, and then have us pay $9 a month to have access to all of these games. In the long run, these games remain the property of Nintendo. It's not like we're just paying to use them, and Nintendo would actually win this way. And that's why sometimes it boggles my mind that Nintendo hasn't, and they go the route of releasing one game a month rather than just giving us all. I mean, they've already made so much money on the past consoles and the past IPs. Why not keep making money with the same consoles, with the same IPs in the digital world on Nintendo Online? What do you think would happen if Microsoft ever bought Nintendo? Like if you woke up one morning and you saw the headlines, Microsoft purchases Nintendo. How would you react? What would you do? And what would you think? What do you think could happen if this is ever a reality? Which is, I don't know. It's just crazy to think. But you know what? After seeing what happened with Microsoft's purchase and Activision, anything is possible. So we just have to buckle up and enjoy the ride. All right, guys. I hope you like this video. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, leave your comment down below. Let me know what you think. And I will see you in the next video. I am Mike Perez with Nintendo Academy, or Speculation Academy. One of those names.
Nintendo news, reviews, unboxing with Mike Perez. On Nintendo Week, pleasure time to you as we switch from game to game. You're a super part of every family here in Nintendo Academy. Subscribe. Have you subscribed yet? Go ahead, subscribe now.